For this episode of Get Real with Casey Kasem, Corey Spala joined the show. Shout out Corey. He is the host of the Load the Wagon podcast, as well as co-host of the Coming Off the Edge podcast. He also contributes to Dynasty League football. We talk about all of that, plus subliminal messages in Disney movies, the 101 of vegetables, creating useful charts, how he came up with his creative podcast idea, and much more. You can follow Corey over on Twitter at Corey Spala. That's COREYSPALA. This show is a member of the DAP Network. And now, here's my conversation with Corey Spala. Corey.
Casey.
Shout out Corey. Shout out Corey. All right,
What's
so we've got Corey here. Corey's in the house. And
Corey in the house.
You know, I want to talk to you about so much stuff, and I know that people that are listening, either they know you and they're just like, give me more information, or they don't know who you are yet. Yet is the key word there.
Latter,
so
probably true, yeah.
We're gonna kind of let them in and really get to know who the real Corey is. So, you know, definitely worth a listen.
Thank you.
Definitely. So I just want to get started before we start talking like fantasy football industry and community and all that jazz. When you were growing up, what was your relationship with sports, or were you into sports?
Yeah, definitely was into sports, you know, the classic growing up T-ball. I actually started hockey was my first sport. But if you want to get really deep with it, I just never I always played sports, but I never cared about sports. Do you know what I mean? Like I played college baseball too. Like I didn't care for sports. It was just a good reason not to get a job.
I exactly. That's exactly how it was with me too. I was like, sorry, I can't work.
Exactly.
Got to stay after school. Got to get up early.
Something interesting. I never played football, like not even flag football.
Really?
It was hockey, soccer, then baseball.
Well, you know, football is overrated, right? So
here we are.
Talking
in the fantasy football industry on the Get Real pod. Shout out Casey Kasem.
Shout out. So how did you come about fantasy football? What was your adventure into that like?
Yeah, surprisingly, I'm a late bloomer. Actually, this is maybe my fourth year playing. I've been in the industry, if you want to call it that, for a year and a half now or so. First time introduced to fantasy football was actually a dynasty auction league. Shout out to DBAP. Shout out to the home leagues. Did a dynasty auction. I believe my first, second, third pay, or buys, whatever you want to call them, were Julio Jones, Jordy Nelson, and maybe Doug Martin.
Oh, Doug Martin, yeah.
Was that a guy, right? The running back back in the day?
Like muscle hamster,
you know. Yeah, like all these old people that, jumping into Dynasty League for my first fantasy league was interesting enough, but doing an auction draft without previously doing anything, it was an interesting learning curve, and I'm happy to be 4 years going with the DBAP league. That's
awesome. So jumping into a league like that, as opposed to like starting in a redraft league and stuff, how was it, that being your foray into fantasy?
It was interesting. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Grasping the fantasy ideas, ideologies and concepts, and like the little idiosyncrasies involved in just redraft season long leagues, but just bypassing that to jump into dynasty where you are taking over the team for as long as the league is active. So obviously I went in with who's going to come right now, Jordy Nelson, Julio Jones, not grasping the outlook of the future involved.
Do you play in a variety of leagues now, or is there one specific type of league that you're more, leaning towards?
That's a great question. All of my leagues besides the charity leagues are dynasty. Shout out to Cooter and Gabe and J Mike over there for their charity leagues and fantasy in session as well. However, one interesting league I'm in is a 4-team league. And it's a keeper league. It's not dynasty. So I don't know how to count that league because there's 4 people. There's 3 other people. We start 4 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 6 receivers, 4 tight end, 6 flex, and 2 defenses. I finally got them to get off kickers. So hopefully next year, Jason, Joe, and Jake, if you're watching, I know you are, let's get rid of the defenses and add 2 more flex.
Well, there you go. You heard it here. It better happen. If it's said on this podcast, it has to happen. So let's make this happen.
Get real.
Get real. Exactly. Let's get real here. We don't really need. Okay. So anyway,
No. Well, to bring it full
Yeah.
circle though, so I have, shout out to DLF, Dynasty League Football, who I write for and do videos with. I've just this offseason, it finally kind of grasped to me that like redrafts, season long leagues are the norm. Like I got into Dynasty thinking, oh my God, this industry, this whole space is so cool. All these Dynasty like-minded people. But then slowly as you grow a little bit, you just learn that like redraft is the move and we're the anomaly, meaning the Dynasty folks. So I've been trying to like flip the script in my brain to kind of address both like Dynasty and like your redraft, your season log, but Dynasty at heart.
Yeah, for sure. I get that. I was one of the people that started out playing redraft at first, which is the norm. Yeah. But it is hard for me to turn my brain on and off with the different settings and everything else, and then writing about it and everything else. What is something that you've learned in your writing that you've learned that has, more meaning one way or the other? Like let me rephrase this because I'm getting ahead of myself here with the question. I'm lost as well. So, the actual question that I was sorry, the Cowboys games. No, all right.
It's coming up, dude. Shout out.
Shout out. No, actually, what I want to know is what is something in your writing when you're writing that you kind of struggle with that is different in, Dynasty versus redraft? What is the major thing that you find difficult to write one or the other?
So
like, do you see that there's like something completely different about each that makes it kind of hard to focus, when turn my redraft brain on or turn my, Dynasty mind on? Yo, can somebody tell me what just happened there? Like, what was I thinking? Did I just piece a bunch of words together and hope a question came out? That's what it sounded like. But anyway, back to the show.
Yeah. So when looking at it, obviously I'm hoping I get this right. So obviously age, right? You have to think about age, redraft versus Dynasty. But when you're kind of pulling bits and pieces from within the games to apply it moving forward, redraft, you may find some things like an injury. Shout out to KJ Osborne over there at the Vikings. His first 2 weeks were great. Last week he came back down to earth with 2 receptions, 2 targets. But like, was KJ Osborne always meant to be like that, or did he benefit from Irv Smith's injury?
Right.
So when thinking about him specifically for redraft and Dynasty, it's like Irv Smith's going to come back, we believe, and if he comes back healthy and plays, is Osborne really going to be a benefactor anymore? Or is he, he's a slot guy, is he going to be an impact, or was that Irv Smith's targets? Now, when you pull that from a redraft mindset versus Dynasty, it's like redraft, you then that guy, Osborne, when Smith comes back, he's going to go down. But for Dynasty, we're looking at Adam Thielen. He's 31 years old, 3 years left on the contract. But the Vikings, if they cut him or trade him post June 1st of 2022, they'll save tons of money with only getting a 3-4 million dead cap hit. So then it's like, is Osborne then going to be around in 2022 if the Vikings move on from Thielen? But then it's like, wouldn't they just target a receiver in the draft in the first couple rounds anyways?
Well, yeah, see, that's another thing with writing too, is like your brain can go in so many different directions with what can happen. And that's kind of the fun in it, is putting kind of your spin on everything. How did you find out about being a part of, writing, putting out videos, doing social media? How did you find that whole fantasy space?
Sure. Okay. So it comes from being a content creator, right? So even before fantasy, I was putting out some content, whether that was growing up with your friends, you're making stupid basketball trick shot videos, you're making, Call of Duty videos, montages, or from your scrims, like the pro scrims and stuff that was still going on. So it's always been from a kernel of like content creating. So when we think of Dynasty, I'm going to bring it back here a little bit full circle. My career, my everyday, day job, I work with data. I work at an autism center. And the analogy that I draw from working at an autism center to fantasy football is 80% of our job is looking at data. 75% of our job is looking at the data, while 25% is looking at the clients. So I pull that versus like an analytics versus film debate where you're going to have people on either side arguing and, we're better. But it's like, no, you just need a combination of that. So for fantasy, again, I got in with Dynasty. I started making Dynasty content for funsies, on my own little thing. I remember DJ Moore and Christian Kirk. Like Christian Kirk was drafted in 2018, 2019, and then DJ Moore the following year. Those two guys, I was just always doing, looking at the data, making graphs, data visualization. I feel like that's important aspect to who I am. The graphs I make, the charts and all that stuff, make it all cute and stuff. So making that content, I just slowly got into it. Shout out to Kate and Michelle at Ball Blast. They brought me on for my first writing. And then shout out to Tyler at Dynasty Happy Hour. He also brought me on. So I got to learn and be around some, pretty knowledgeable people and just learn from them to continue to apply to the content that is being created.
And when you put out your very first piece, whether that was an article or a video or whatever, how did you feel and what did you think the reaction was going to be like versus what really happened?
That's great questions because I mean, as an artist, if you even want to call that as an, if you're creating something you enjoy, I don't know about you, but I have so much anxiety where I'm just like, no one's going to like this. You see on WordPress, like the revisions, there's like 40 revisions. Like it's just changing the littlest things possible that when I put out content, I kind of just block, like it's out there and now I'm done with it. Like I don't want to, but like it's always cool. You get some messages, getting the retweets or favorites on the post that's validating, and hearing from some people you admire, look up to, saying they really thought your piece was cool or well researched and all that stuff. So I mean, let's answer the question, Corey. I don't know how to answer that question because maybe at the end of the day, I just don't want to know the answer to that question.
Well, it's okay because at least you understood that question. I'm not good at asking the questions, and sometimes you don't have answers. So there we go. Here's another question for you that has to do with when you first got started. Is there something that you know now that you wish you would have known when you first started out in the fantasy industry?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna say that I mean this nicely, everyone that's listening. Getting paid in like promotion or paid, what I'm trying to say, like not actually getting paid for your work. I would suggest that everyone, to me, when I was starting out, to whoever's starting out now, is like make your own blog, make your own website, push the content out for yourself, and don't benefit other companies, businesses, whatever you want to call them, if they're not benefiting you
right
as much, if not more, than you benefit them. So aside from the little things you may need as a writer or as, personality, I think it's more important is like, you need to benefit yourself first. Let the money, I don't know, whatever you want, let the followers, let the money come after the consistent hard work, dedication, wanting success more than your next breath type situations.
Right on to that as well, because a lot of people have come on this show and said the exact same thing. You don't have to start off, start your own thing and go from there, which is great. And, if I would have had that opportunity at the time, I wasn't even thinking go that route. So it's cool to see people do that and all these new sites and new writers pop up. It's super dope.
Got it. Paid in exposure. It finally came.
Oh, paid in exposure.
What I said, paid in promotion.
Well, I mean,
same thing, right?
Same thing.
I couldn't think of it on the spot, but paid in exposure. Yeah, don't take the paid in exposure. Do it for yourself, unless you're getting compensated, a decent amount of money, not just like $2 an article or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you should know yourself better than anybody. So if you're in a situation where you feel like I could do this on my own, I don't need to, or whatever, or you want somebody that's there to guide you and. You've done the research and you look and you're like, okay, these are good people. So just, you just got to navigate the waters. So
yeah. And it depends who you are. Some people just thoroughly enjoy just being here. Like they're with the company, like they're just having fun. Some people, like want to get paid. So you need to understand what you want to do in this industry of ours that is ever growing and probably won't stop expanding for a little bit, kind of like the universe. So yeah, just look what you want to do, how you want to work it, and set a plan, set a goals.
Goals, yes, goals. Speaking of goals, I want to go back a little bit. When you were growing up, was there a specific thing that you wanted to be when you grew up? And then does fantasy football serve some sort of, does it fill kind of a childlike gap, if you will?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, if you want to talk about like occupation, growing up, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. I never had my heart set on anything. I always, again, like I kind of said, content creation was always the root of it going back to my high school days when I was putting out content then. And maybe even, I don't know if I know saying a YouTube creator is redundant and that's everybody's job, but in reality right now in 2021, like YouTube is a way to be in front of people producing stuff, whether that's fantasy football, comedic relief, entertainment, whatever, making songs. At one point, I was like, who didn't want to like make music at one point?
Right.
Yeah, content creation. Okay, let's go through the Rolodex of things I want. I think I originally started off, I wanted to be like a gym teacher, you know what I mean? Like just some classic stuff. Might have toyed around with like cop, police officer. I thought at one point I wanted to be a nurse, but then I was like, that's a lot of schooling. I'm okay. Professional gamer at one point too was on the horizons. And then I don't know, everything I've gone through, I just rolled into it. So here we are making fantasy content type situations.
And when I was, growing up, and then once this whole internet thing started where, back in my day, we didn't have these resources. So it's so dope that you're able to put out this content, because we never had that opportunity when we were, I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to ask. And I know you're not supposed to ask women, but I'm not going to ask you either, unless you want to answer.
28.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Shout out to 1993.
Okay, see, I am 37 years old, so there's a little bit of a gap there. So I didn't have that. We had like like Angel Fire websites that we would make, and we had our MySpaces and stuff. So
yeah, like a chat room or two, just like a blog,
a blog. Oh my gosh, I had a blog.
Exactly.
I had
the internet was.
Oh man,
did you know?
Live journal. Jeez.
YouTube. It was originally founded to be a dating site.
Oh yeah.
So it was called YouTube. Originally, the founders, ironically enough, came up with the idea on Valentine's Day while they were all hanging out. Again, this is stuff I read on the internet, so we know that's true. Whatever.
Yeah, for sure. As you started talking, it was like, and what's going to happen? Like Bigfoot came out, and.
But so YouTube, their idea was people would upload 30-second to a minute long videos of themselves, like, "Hi, I'm Corey. I'm 28 years old. I live in Michigan. Blah blah blah." But then it turned out to this multi-billion-dollar, whatever it is, trillion-dollar industry.
And it's super dope. And it's so awesome to see the explosion, and more people are putting out content and everything via YouTube. Being in that game and doing that, what has been the biggest challenge for you putting out video content?
That's a good question. So I feel during the season, you lose your creative motivation, because during the season it's just start, sit, waiver targets, while I'm someone that just kind of likes to create an idea or a topic on the spot. So not a lot of people might care about it, because during the fantasy football redraft season, people want to know waiver wire targets, start sits, I don't know if buy low is a thing in redraft, sell high in redraft, people to avoid or start, starts and duds. So I feel it's just a hard balance between finding what you want to do versus what the market is demanding. And I feel a lot of people are in a position where if you're not able to do what you want to do, you're going to fall under doing things you don't want to do. Therefore, you're not going to have an enjoyable time doing it. So the balance, the equilibrium of contents that you want to create versus content that needs to be made. But I guess you then got to think about your target audience. My YouTube channel at a point had a big Bears following, so I found myself catering a little more Bears videos versus doing, whatever 49ers video.
And it's totally okay to figure that out and do that to cater towards the audience as well, because that's what you're doing with redraft. When, redraft, like we were talking about, I mean, redraft is the thing that if you say fantasy football, most people, yeah, it's a thing. That's where people's minds go to, at least in my life, when I talk, when they can't imagine doing this all year round. How is that a thing? Why are you drafting, in May or whatever? So playing Dynasty, do you have people in your life that are like that as well? Or do most people kind of get it?
Most people in my life, when we say that, that means my online Twitter friends and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I would say they get it. The 4-team league, we always draft, a week or two before the season, some normal stuff. A couple buddies always hit me up last minute, like for the draft. So I would say it's a good mixture, but the ones that stand out to me are the people that get it, I guess.
So I want to move on to talking about something that I've been a part of, and I want to talk more about, I want to actually talk about Load the Wagon, because that is an excellent, excellent program. And
thank you.
And one of the reasons I think people really need to listen to this episode is to get more insight on this, because it's so out there and different, but in a good way. Can you tell, the audience more about what the podcast is and what exactly it means to you?
Shout out. Yeah. Thank you. First off, thank you. That was very nice. I appreciate the kind words about Load the Wagon, a concept I came up with. Load the Wagon is a Madden franchise draft show. Guests come on, draft the team, and then we simulate the year to see how their team does. I kind of market and brand it not as a fantasy show, but more as like an escape for the guest from fantasy. Now, this is kind of a loophole, because when you're drafting a Madden team, you might draft AJ Brown, Mike Evans. So that naturally, two people who know fantasy football, know the NFL, you're going to talk fantasy, but it's a hidden concept idea involved in the show, Load the Wagon. I kind of came up with it because everybody has a fantasy football show, podcast, and that's cool. But I was just like, how am I going to stand out? Like, there's so much in the market. So many people are doing a show. All these bigger shows have the audience that they needed. But what can separate my show? And what better than to draft a team, offense, defense, have a good time. And then for me, it's fun to connect with the guests, to talk to them. Because within it, we get to know each other. When you were on the show, what was that one kids game that you loved?
Pogs.
Like, I had no idea what that was. And so I get to learn stuff. And then for the guests, they get to come on, draft a team. They go through a lot of emotions because, you could be a nail biting finish. You could make the playoffs, make a couple games, make it to the Super Bowl. I think I'm on like 42 episodes. There's only been 7 or 8 Super Bowl winners. So it's possible, but the odds are definitely stacked against the guests. So it's just a fun concept, a good time. We have good laughs, good vibes, and you get to know the guest a little bit more outside of just asking them, hey, who's your favorite fantasy player? Who you like in week 5, I don't know.
For sure. No, the concept is super awesome. No, it's super awesome. And it will really pull you in. And the guests that you get to come on are awesome as well. How do you reach out to people to come on to your show?
That's a great question. Some people reach out and hey, holler, what's up? I love your show. Some I'll like message, 10 people. All it takes is the one person to respond and say yes. So yeah, you just reach out to people. Some people reach out to you, connections you make, friends, word travels. You have a guest that likes it. Thank you, Casey, for giving me some good words. Maybe some people would want to come on about that, but actually talking about it, I actually need to start asking people to come on.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things of having your own podcast is getting it scheduled and getting people working with people's dates and doing all that stuff. And when you have people come on and you're really personable with them and you really, like you said, get to know the person, and it's a fun way of getting to know the person, how comfortable are you with talking to people, and have you always been comfortable? I mean, I'm not sure how comfortable you really feel, but listening and seeing it, you seem comfortable.
No, thank you. I actually had, a lot of people reach out after the first couple shows saying like, dude, you like just look natural, look good up there, comfortable. And leading up to every show, including this, I'm doing in the bathroom, doing power poses, trying to get rid of anxiety. You know what I mean? And then, whatever, deep breaths or whatever, hitting that warrior pose for the yoga. But in the moment when the camera's on, when the lights are rolling, and after a beautiful new intro, thank you to Gabe, aka Man Bun over there at FF Man Bun, for the new intro for Load the Wagon.
Yeah.
I just love that I have an actual soundtrack or an opening show to that too. So now I feel even more official. But I don't know. I don't feel comfortable. I feel sometimes you just black out. You know what I mean? You start the show and all of a sudden it's ended and it's like, was that good?
Yep. Every single time, that's how it feels. And then you listen to it back, or you try to listen to it back without getting too like, oh my gosh. And it sounds better than you think it does in your head. So definitely. So when you ask people questions and kind of have a conversation, just kind of chatting it up and everything, how do you go about that? Do you prepare ahead of time, or does the stuff just come to you?
Good question.
A little bit both?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Obviously, when you were coming on, where I have to get real pod, a Cowboys fan, maybe some stuff in their bio, like when Bo McBigtype came out, obviously he makes his hot sauce, his other accessories for the kitchen. You naturally can talk about that, but it's kind of just on the spot stuff. Like I said, when you're drafting players, you could talk about that player and their current situation that's going on. Like, I guess, you just drafted Christian McCaffrey in real life. He's going to be out. How do you feel about Chuba Hubbard? So, something like that.
Yeah. And it is good. It's entertaining and it's also informative. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I had a review that says I'm way too positive. So, oh god, you're.
Yeah, you got to cut out the positivity. That's way too much.
Sorry for saying that. I like your podcast.
Yeah.
But podcast,
right. Wow.
gross. I don't even like my own. So, taking it back, I want to know. So, because your podcast intrigues me, I'm not a defensive person at all. Don't know anything to save my life about defense at all. And you're very helpful and good at kind of guiding the guest down the right path. Maybe not the right path. They don't win at the end, but at least they look like they're competent enough to know, that that's a player they should be drafting. So, what do you do when you have a guest on that doesn't really know as many of that side of the football?
That's a good question, because I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but something that I like to show is I like the guests to make it how they want to, right? So you say, I will attempt to lead people down a right or wrong path. But at the end of the day, if the guest wants to make it entertaining and take Josh Allen with like Julio Jones, Tyreek Hill, and AJ Brown, that's cool. So the question that came from that derived from that you asked is, I do a bunch of these drafts off stream, like in my free time. I kind of get to know the values of where the players are being drafted. So a lot of people may be like, oh, I like player A. I see it's like round 4, but I know that player A will go in round 7 or 8. I try to be like, oh yeah, like that's cool. Like you could probably get him in a couple of rounds. Maybe you could try targeting. And then in my head, I have their team, and what position they need. And then I pick like, oh, I know Denzel Ward's available like this round. They need a cornerback. Maybe they should try to take a cornerback here. So I don't know if you want to say it's subconscious, subliminally. Shout out to Disney movies with all their subliminal messages. Something that I was thinking of was how I want to go back and rewatch all these Disney movies, or like even like the Disney shows, because Disney, they make their shows or movies for catering to the kids, but with the underlying adult factor, like the colors, the animations for the kids, but the subplots is for the adults. So that's what I do. I Disney movie my guests. I try to subliminally say that 5 times fast.
No.
Just get to them. If they want to do, like, again, it's their team, whatever they want to do, I'll accept it. But I tried to guide them to the path. And like you said, I often fail.
Well, but not the failing. The entertainment factor makes it a positive. So that's a thing that I like when you're talking on your show, is that maybe you're not trying to guide them in a certain direction, but you're giving them the information that they need to make a logical choice. And that's what we do in fantasy football too. Like, we don't have all the answers, but we try to give you as much information, who's being drafted where, ADP. There you go. So
I can bring up my own ADP. Load the wagon ADP.
Oh my gosh, you should totally get on that.
No, because then it's like a cheat, man. Like in season 1, Tom Brady was the cheat code.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, 80, whatever overall, you could have drafted him in the 14th, 15th round. So some guests who watch the show, they're like, oh, I know I'm grabbing Tom Brady in that round. I am not telling people the cheat code that I've found from doing my drafts until someone figures it out. Good for you. But it's fun. I don't even remember the question, to be honest. I just remember talking about Disney movies. What's your favorite Disney movie?
The Lion King.
Of course, that's classic, dude.
The animated one, not the
OG, like 94,
the OG animated,
94.
Yeah, with Jonathan Taylor Thomas and all that jazz. That's what I'm talking about.
Jonathan
what about you?
Taylor.
Yes.
Wow. So like, I always thought Shrek was Disney, but it's not. So not Shrek. Toy Story is classic. Every OG is always cool. I guess Toy Story 2 and 3 was fine. Big Mulan fan.
Oh, okay.
I like Mulan. Was Kung Fu Panda Disney? Our little recent guy.
DreamWorks. Maybe.
DreamWorks versus Disney had some beef.
Yeah, they were,
because DreamWorks was Shrek, and the person that like founded DreamWorks previously wrote or whatever directed for Disney, and then there was some beef going on, and then that's why in Shrek, Lord Farquaad.
Yeah.
You know how he's the dweeby guy.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like one of the persons from Disney. So the person that founded DreamWorks took a shot at that with him. So that was very interesting. Finding Nemo's cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like Finding Nemo. Pixar just love like the vibrant colors, the animation that they use. It's from production, written to execution. It's all great. Shout out to Disney for what they do.
For real. I can't even remember the last time I've actually watched like a Disney film. Maybe I have to go back to the vault and pull something out.
You got Disney Plus or anything?
Not anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, do like what, $10 for Disney movies that
we might still have it because I was part of our cell phone plan. Whatever, I don't pay attention.
Yeah, and it's like one of those subscriptions you sign up for, you forget you do, and they just hit you with that monthly charge.
Yeah.
Those
are the worst.
Isn't it crazy how like that's legal and they could do that?
Oh my gosh!
Cancel anytime, but it's like
we're not going to tell you when. My wife is always setting alarms like my free trial is up after this amount.
That's
great.
That's a good quality.
And you're like, what is? Yeah. Why is it dinging? Oh, I guess we got to cancel our showtime or whatever.
What a great quality.
Yeah, I guess. Unless she's not here and then it's going off and I'm like,
which one is this?
I was supposed to do something. What am I canceling?
What do I?
Oh man. But yeah. So yeah, it's your podcast. Back to your podcast.
Me.
I know. We're talking more about, this is a conversational show, so whatever. But give the people what they want, and we want to know more about you.
And that's my show.
This show, that brilliant piece of work. And I'm going to say that I like it. The reason I asked you to come on the show is because you're doing something different than other people. And I'm trying to get that in the mix. So super dope. So that's not the only thing that you have your hands involved in. What are some of the other things, podcast related, maybe writing related, whatever you want to get into to kind of talk about more of what you got going on?
Me. Yeah. That currently, so during the off season, Load the Wagon, I do on Mondays, but obviously there's Monday Night Football during the season. I was like, oh, that's a bad day to probably do that. Who's going to want to watch that? Obviously you could watch it back, but I feel the experience is a little better live. But that's Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or anytime after if the guest needs, whatever it may be. Aside from Load the Wagon, I also do a show, Coming Off the Edge. Numerous people, normally me, Jeff Bell, Chef, shout out to James Crease, Nate Polvolt is on that sometimes, and as well as Cooter. Coming Off the Edge off chaos. We just get wild there. Try to have a little bit of fun. We try to bring more fantasy nuggets. I try to bring laughter, a little comedic relief. I view myself as like an ad lib, from like the Migos, like you get the bar and then you get the ad lib. Like that's me. I try to like bring a refresher. We have a lot of fun, a lot of shenanigans. Something I really like about Coming Off the Edge, COTE, COTE for the acronym, about COTE is we started having dinner parties. Like, we would make X, Y, and Z, or have like like the topic would be frozen pizzas. So we would make frozen pizzas and talk about our favorite frozen pizza, or like sandwiches. I get a Philly cheesesteak. And then we do one of those drafts at the end that does not apply to fantasy, like best camping supplies or like road trip needs. But so please don't get it twisted. It's not just like a parody kind of show. It's not a comedy relief. There is genuine fantasy nuggets to be found within it, anywhere from player contracts. We got the dynasty minds like me and Jeff Bell kills it for Devi, and redraft stuff. So it's just a nice blend, and something that I've always have been saying to the group, and something that I appreciate the most is like we found a way to display our friendship to the community. And I feel that anyone could just step in front of the mic and be like, bye, sits, anything, but like we display our friendship, we have laughs, we have our dinner party, we're just having a good time. And I feel like that is, to me, the most important, is just hanging out with my friends for an hour, 7 p.m. Tuesdays, Eastern Standard Time as well.
That's super awesome. And
Yep.
What's the biggest difference between podcasting by yourself, being a host on your own, versus having a collaborative group of people?
That's a good question. It's weird because like I've never done a fantasy show per se. Obviously I've been on, for 15, 20 minutes, you get, do this something with a couple groups. I always appreciate that. But like my show, it's kind of like, we kind of went through it. It's, I don't know how much fantasy, there's some fantasy nuggets, but it's trying to be entertaining. The Coming Off the Edge, something that you just got waiting your turn to talk, like feeling it out, not cutting someone off is important. Keeping a train of thought going. It's different when there's 4 to 6 people between, 2 people like me and you here. It's just me hitting your eardrums and you hitting my eardrums. So it's easier to bounce back and forth or keep a convo going. But when there's 4, 5, 6 people on the show, you just got to understand, like, sometimes you may not be able to get something out that you want to say just because that's just how it's going. So you just got to play your role on a show with 4 to 6 people. Like, you just got to do it. You can't mess up the flow.
For sure. And it's a learning process. And when you started out with doing whenever you put out your very first podcast versus where you are now, what is something that has been the most beneficial that you've taken over that time period to get where you are right now?
Yeah, my first one, shout out to Dave Kluge. He was the first guest on Load the Wagon season 1. We're bringing it back, like the nerves and, not being comfortable. It's kind of the time after with the guest. If they do so choose to stay, you could talk for a little bit with them, get some feedback, and hearing like their pros, their cons. And then something that's important is like when there's negative feedback, you can't like get yourself down on it. You need to learn and apply it. Like you don't want to keep making the same mistakes over and over. So just the time to get to talk after the show with the guest, even if it's about whatever, whether it's me, my show, or just to talk to them. I really enjoy that part because then you just learn from their expertise. You have these people on who do hundreds of shows. You have some people who are doing maybe their first couple shows with you. You could offer them some advice, getting advice as a host or, just as a general speaker or human in general. It's cool to get feedback over time, whether it's good or bad, constructive or feedback.
For sure. I want to take and ask you a question about the drafting that you were talking about, because Coming Off the Edge, like you said, you guys will pick a random thing. And has there been something that you haven't drafted yet that you would be interested to having drafted on that show?
Yeah, probably like rappers. Obviously, when you have multiple people, everyone has a different music taste or whatever genre. We did comedians. That was pretty cool. Maybe vegetables. That's a good question. We never really talked about that. Like, what do we want to do? At one point, we're discussing, like, we got to stop doing just food. and drinks.
It's so hard.
I know it's easy. There's so much like ice cream
right?
flavors or like bagels,
Mm-hmm.
so we tried, we've done Disney movies, 90 movies, like I said, camping supplies, road trip necessities. So we kind of, what's going to happen is tomorrow someone's going to send a message in the group chat. What are we talking about today? And then we kind of just bounce back and forth for a little bit, and eventually no one picks anything. So you just got to go executive decision and just make it happen.
Well, what's your number one vegetable?
Broccoli.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very diverse. Compare it with chicken, maybe some steak and potatoes, get a broccoli with that. You can make broccoli pasta. I know that sounds like weird, but I got a good cooking show. If you want the link, broccoli pasta, broccolini is cool too. What else? You could just eat broccoli raw, steam it, grill it, probably.
And yeah, it's one of those, I didn't like it growing up, but I like it now. So, and you don't have to just cover it in cheese. You can eat it so many different ways, but that's good. I know.
Funny enough, at where I work, when kids ask me what my favorite food is, I'll tell them it's broccoli. Obviously, I'm sorry, anyone watching, I'm lying. Like, my favorite food isn't broccoli, right? It's pizza or something, ham, cheeseburgers. But shout out broccoli, because I don't know, if a kid looks up to you and like, oh, Corey's eating broccoli, maybe I'll eat it finally or something,
Right on.
So it's like a nice little lie.
Oh. What about the 101 of rappers? Who would you choose if you had the 101 in that draft?
Well, dude, I mean, shout out to the Scott Fishbowl. Shout out to that. Little Wayne is definitely mine. That's the division I'm in. Shout out to Little Wayne division.
Shout out.
If you're like didn't I ask you this? Who's yours?
Oh, Notorious B.I.G.
Oh yeah, you're in that, aren't you?
Yeah. That's how it works, guys.
That's how it works. Yeah. So yeah, dude, rappers, dude, one of my favorite. Well, like hip hop. Sorry, hip hop. Yeah. Rap is what you do. Hip hop is what you feel, right? So not a lot of people are like MCs, like people who get it. Like, there's a lot of rappers. Like, I respect the game today, not the game, the rapper, but the game it is today. It's beat fetishism, if you will. You say the couple words with the ad libs, but at the end of the day, it's all about what a true MC. So now is the time to shine. Guy everyone needs to listen to, Marlon Craft. He's out of New York. Dude, I've been following him for 4 or so years here. He is truly up next, and I'm so excited that he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves. Casey, I'll send you some stuff.
Please do.
After. Marlon Craft is dope. Again, he's out of New York. Ride that wave. Yeah, he's up next.
Dope.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, definitely send me stuff. Yeah, because during the work day, I love to have, like, my supervisor came over today and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Working and banging some bangers, dude." I've got these bangers right here. I am just,
What'd you have on today?
I was listening to the Dua Lipa album that I've been listening to like 400 times. And some POS out of Minneapolis. And then I listened to some Rancid because I have a Rancid concert I'm going to tomorrow. So.
Oh, fun. Yeah. So again, it's kind of like, mood related, obviously you're not going to listen to your sad songs while you're writing or at work.
Right.
Or you'll be listening to music that you're getting really excited to see. So I hope you enjoy that. That sounds fun.
Dope. Yeah. Looking forward to it. So what do you do to kind of like chill and relax?
Have a drink, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe some tea with some honey CBD. That's always fun to relax. Water's cool. And shout out to Loom. A little local spot. Get a little 5 milligrams going.
There you go.
All right. And just chill out, relax. Get you in the creative juices going. It's weird because I actually, while I write and research, I often find myself having stand-up comedy on.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
And I also sometimes fall asleep to it, and it makes me question what kind of psycho I am.
I mean,
like, you can't go to sleep laughing, you know what I mean? But like, I thoroughly enjoy, and it's never like new ones, because new ones you're learning the roller coaster the comedian is bringing you on. So it's always like ones I've seen hundreds of times, but I still fall asleep to it or write to it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't imagine. I had Debro on Derek, and he was shout out to Derek. Dude is awesome, and I've known him for a while, and he was talking to me about what kind of music he listens to when he's writing and stuff, and I'm like, wow, you guys listen to music when you write? I can't do it. I can work, huh? What do I do?
Yeah,
usually just quiet.
Silence. Your own thoughts. That sounds scary.
With my own thoughts. Maybe that's why it takes so long. Maybe I should start listening.
Put on some instrumentals.
Yeah, I do. But the problem is, I like to put on like beats, and I like to rap. So then I start getting.
You're like, oh, that, yeah. Okay.
Oh, and I start typing out lyrics instead or something. Oops, sorry. I'm supposed to be talking about Johnny Smith, and I'm over here like.
What if you only do articles via rap lyrics?
Oh man. I mean, I'd have to get that passed through the fantasy footballers. They'd have to okay all that. But
I feel like that'd be fun. Well, like
Kyle,
it's shout out to Kyle. Kyle, we know you're watching. Let Casey write rap lyrics but in an article. So John Smith, like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. They've already got the boom boom kicker. That's pretty, rap forward there. So we'll see.
True.
So, but it's cool that you listen. Do you have a favorite comedian?
Yeah, kind of like artists or songs. It's kind of fluid. It changes with the time. Overall, Bill Burr is like my goat. Sorry, he's not the goat. He's my active goat. Some other ones coming up. I like Dustin Nickerson. Who else do I? Nate Bargatze. He's a little more big. Someone like Andrew Schultz. I appreciate some good crowd work. But just like Marlon Craft, Dustin Nickerson is the up and coming comedian that everyone should be paying attention to. Of course, Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just tons of them. Oh, there's one I'm blanking on. There's so many.
There are so many good ones.
Bo Burnham. Shout out to Inside. Love that. Been following him since his beginning there on YouTube. It kind of just depends. So Bill Burr, and then do I want to say Dustin Nickerson or Nate Bargatze? I'm going to say Dustin Nickerson, just the hope that he could come on my show.
Yeah.
Message me back, Dustin.
Shout out, Dustin.
It's all good.
Come on.
Yeah, shout out Dustin Nickerson and Marlon Craft.
There you go. Shout out. And we're getting all this like knowledge from you about like the up and coming stuff. So is there anything else on your radar right now that people need to keep their ear or their eye on?
That's a good question. What are we talking about related?
Anything.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
I know.
No, but this local Philly cheesesteak sandwich spot just opened up so if you're in the Southwest Michigan area, check out Lefty's.
Okay.
But something that 99.9% of people will not be able to take from that. Anything to come up on? No, but I mean, probably fall candles. The scents are coming out. Campfire. Love spooky season coming up. Sweater weather's coming up. We love good hoodie weather.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to talk about something without being directly led down it. So my mind went to candles. I don't really care for pumpkin spice. We don't need to talk about that. We could fade that. Although if that's your thing, I respect it and appreciate you regardless.
I'm not a pumpkin spice fan. I do like the cinnamon and the fireplace.
It's funny because isn't pumpkin spice just like cinnamon and chocolate? It's not actually pumpkin spice.
It's not even. I don't know.
I could just be making.
I'm basic, but I'm not that basic. So I don't know. Like my basic stuff is like not pumpkin spice. So I don't know. But it is that time of the year. So and then with football starting and everything, and it's a big deal.
Sure.
Fantasy football is a big deal. That's what we like to talk about. Sometimes we like to talk about video games. And since we were talking about the Madden in the video game, is there any other video games that you're a fan of?
Yeah, previously, like I said, big video game guy. I played professionally.
Okay, there we go.
And semi-pro.
Okay.
If we're being honest,
hey,
can't flex that much.
Getting real here. Here we go.
And that was in Call of Duty. So Call of Duty has always been my heart, my home. So Warzone is super fun. Fortnite's cool. That got old after a little bit, but like me and a couple buddies may hop on for a little bit. Nowadays, it's hard to dive. Whoa, words, devote time to it because you're so busy in your real life. You're
Mhm.
tired from your real life, your
Yep.
friendships, any other relationships you may have, aside from doing shows, producing content, researching. It just nowadays there's just not much time for video games, which is
Right.
unfortunate. Outside of that's why I just use it as an excuse. My show, because when I do my Madden drafts on the side, I'm like, oh, I'm just researching for my show, even though I'm having a little fun for myself to draft a team. And I've been actually now that I brought it up, or will bring it up here, I've been toying with the idea to like do solo shows, but do like defense only, or like only drafting rookies and then seeing how those teams do. Do you think that's a good idea? Like offense only, or like balanced, or like some crazy rules like you cannot draft a player over 80 overall unless they're like 35 years or older or something.
Yeah, I think that
That'd be fun.
adding little wrinkles or whatever to certain, yeah, if you did that. I mean, obviously, I don't know,
Me either. Shout out anxiety.
I don't know. Shout out anxiety. You just
feel like
gotta
it'd be
jump
fun.
into it. And yeah. And you know what? You try it out. If you like it, continue doing it. If you don't like it, and then
That's right.
you just kind of have to play around with it,
Yeah, maybe it could just be a YouTube video only, not like
Yeah.
a live stream. I guess
There
you
you
could
go.
stream live to YouTube, but at least it's not on Periscope or Twitter. Is Periscope even a thing these days?
I don't think so, because when I got on to StreamYard, I haven't been on
email?
StreamYard. I got that thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it said that you can still use your Twitter, but blah blah blah.
Supposed to like March 31st or whatever.
I don't know. Who knows anymore? I can't keep track of everything, but
No. Yeah, Twitter bought Periscope for like $5 million or so, and then like 3-4 years later, it kind of just failed on them. So,
yeah.
now it's just Twitter.
Yeah, it's. Have you done the streaming Twitch stuff?
I have with Cooter.
Okay.
The computer I have, it's not a gaming computer.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate that I'm not able to stream like that. But again, like I don't have time. Twitch is so cool. Shout out to everyone there on Twitch, because you could even do it aside from just video games. You could just stream yourself. I think Peter Howard, I don't know if he streams to Twitch.
I think so.
I thought he did too at one point.
Too. With Peter, it's really hard because
He does what he wants.
He does what he wants, and it's Peter. What are you gonna do? Yeah, I
Peter.
think I really find it really interesting. I've been getting into like watching it more and just trying to get a feel for it. I kind of want to do that.
I saw your tweet about putting out
I might. Stuff like that. I don't know. Just for my own personal thing. But if anybody wants to stop by and say hey, then that's a.
So you would be thinking about doing live freestyles?
Probably, yes.
Okay. I didn't know. When I saw the tweet,
they're live, baby.
I didn't know if you meant like just upload a video. I'm like, dude, do a freestyle, upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah. I find it really interesting, and I like to. I really don't have my finger on the pulse of anything. So I'm like kind of late in this whole looking at the Twitch thing, but it's interesting to me.
No, for sure. So when people when they get started off with those things, Twitch, YouTube, doing a live show on here, it's just important not to get discouraged because you may only have 1 or 2 people there. Obviously, not many people will join immediately if they don't know you. You're not building, you got to build the community on Twitch. Like obviously on Twitch, you don't have to just be freestyle and nonstop. You could stop for 5 minutes, talk to the chat, break down something outside of bars for that, So just don't get discouraged if not many people are coming, because after, hard work, consistency, dedication, and wanting success more than your next breath, those followers, money, everything will come with it. It's just, the overnight things don't happen. Overnight success doesn't happen. It will, obviously, because shout out analytics and anomalies, but you got to put your time and effort and hard work into it. So I view it kind of like relationships, right? You can give 100% to someone, but they're not going to give it back. You could give 100% to your craft and you will get it back. It just may take a little time. Everyone's path's a little bit different. It could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be 6 months,
Yeah. You hear those stories all the time. The gap is crazy with, it took me, it took me 10 years, so it happens. And that's great advice and great to look at it from that
Wait,
point of
watch
view.
the positivity around here, Casey.
No positivity up in here. So you have a personality that's like super dope, and sometimes when you're listening to podcasts or you're watching people, it's kind of like monotonous and everything, but you put your personality into it. For people who maybe don't feel like they can do that, maybe they're just like nervous to like let themselves be out there. What kind of advice do you have to people that are like that?
Coffee and anxiety. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe I can't imagine what my first video or two on screen was. That wasn't my show. When I did my first show, I had video experience. It's just raps, repetitions. Get on a call with some friends. It doesn't have to be live. Just talk to them. Have emotion, have passion. Obviously, if you're just talking like this and saying like Juju Smith-Schuster got injured, no one's really going to care about that unless you already built it up like that. I don't know. You could tell there's so many full circles I'm going with this stuff, man. Shout out anxiety, but advice for people: just be yourself. Don't ever be someone different. Haha, that's so unique. I don't know, Casey. I don't know.
No, I mean,
some people just have it, some don't, and you can't fake a personality. People will catch on that quick.
Yeah,
you can't fake excitement. I mean, I guess you can, right? But I don't know, dude. That's a tough question.
And putting yourself out there.
You just gotta be you out there.
You just be yourself, but putting yourself out there can be scary. That's true.
It is scary.
And there's gonna be people out there that don't think of you as their cup of tea, and you're not gonna be everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah. So that's perfect. Avoid the negative hate comments. Who cares? Like, do you think LeBron is going to respond to people on Twitter who can barely hoop? No, like they're not waste your time. If you truly believe you have something special, there's going to be some haters, some people, with negativity. You just focus all your energy there on the positive. Obviously, we'll have our down days. It's important to feel the full spectrum of emotions. Now, how do I bring this full circle to having confidence and putting yourself out there on video? You just got practice, repetition. You just got to do it. You know what I mean? We'll all fight our battles every show. Like I said, I have anxiety leading up the 10, 15 minutes of the show. Lights, cameras, action, you're on. It just kind of goes away. I think the most important step is just making the leap.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem. Once you make the leap, you get on, you get to talk to cool people like you. Shout out to Casey. If you truly are passionate about something, conversations are just going to flow naturally. So you just do it. Shout out to Shia LaBeouf. Did you know that was a marketing campaign?
Just
do it. Like, that was a marketing. That was actually meant to be a meme, and they successfully memed what they wanted to do.
Oh, well. Yeah. Man, I'm learning so much from you. I live under a rock.
Again, stuff I see on the internet. We all know that's true. I actually believe I watched an interview and he said that himself. I could be wrong. But yeah, so just do it. Like, literally just do it. Shout out to Nike as well.
Yeah. I mean, also OGs of just doing it.
Just do it.
But yeah, putting all the, just putting yourself out there and doing it. I mean, the worst that can happen is it doesn't go anywhere. Well, you just go find something else to do. There's lots of other stuff that can,
find your lane, find your Madden show, find what you're good at. Like, if you're good at evaluating tight ends, do a tight end only show. I don't know, just find your niche, find what you're good at and do it. Maybe not everyone's good at doing shows. That's okay. But maybe you're good at a nice 10 to 15 minute breakdown on a player or on a team, and boom, boom, boom. You could do that.
Boom, boom, boom. And you do a lot of, like you were talking about, the charts and the graphs and everything, and finding that as something that you do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that people know you for, right? So, finding what you're good at. So yeah. And the way you break it down and put it out there and tweet it out, it really does. I do enjoy that kind of stuff. I know nothing about that kind of stuff. So to have guys like you put that information out is really helpful to us.
Neat, man. Like I brought up earlier, I love my data visualization. I've had a couple comments from some people that I respect, and it feels good that maybe that's the comfortability thing, the confidence thing. I do enjoy what I'm putting out. It's just the fear of maybe people don't. But when you do, maybe that's another good important tip for everyone. Just send a compliment a day to someone, and then that may make their day.
It really
Shout out to Database.
Shout out to giving compliments, because that's really really awesome. And I agree. There is a lot of negativity just in general in life. So just kind of like,
oh my God,
just in life in general. It's not just, and everybody this is me standing on a soapbox, it's tough, everybody wants to say that it's just one section, but it's everything. Everything is kind of just a crap show right now.
I feel you.
But we're here in 2021. We're doing our thing.
September 27th.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing our thing, and I want to know, like, what is something that's happened during this whole like pandemic that has kind of like made you like kind of changed your mind about things, maybe, or like you go about doing things differently now because of what's going on.
Yeah, that's actually a really great question, because obviously lives have been and will be changed forever. Yeah. Something that I find interesting was like it finally took a pandemic for people to have basic cleaning like skills. It's like I honestly dude, when I go to Aldi, the same freaking bottle. Oh, it's over there. The same bottle of hand sanitizer is like $2.99. Well, it was during the pandemic. Previously, it was 99 cents. So it's like I was copping hand sanitizer before it was cool. Yep. Something that applied. That's a good question.
I know. I mean, I'm not that I know that it's a good question. It's just hard to think about because I'm sitting here too, like kind of like I don't, I don't know. I feel like during this time period, like, is when I've been more active in putting out content and stuff.
Yeah. That's good. A good point. Yeah. Something like that is a benefit.
Figuring it out and figuring out how to do it. But you know what's cool? When I was talking to Liz Loza and stuff, she was able to talk to people that she wouldn't have been able to talk to because you can do it via chat like this. And so that's a cool thing that during the pandemic, a lot of people were working from home and being able to do that. So talking to like Magic Johnson or whoever, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, being a homebody, nothing really changed much for me. I mean, dude, the first couple of weeks I had so much anxiety, like going out to the store. Like I felt like it was like some crazy expedition going on, but I guess just following just basic human protocol, respecting others was a good, flash for me, like a good reminder. Like, obviously I'm not going to be like a dick or like anything out there, but just reminding like basic human etiquette was a good reminder. Like I didn't work from home. I work, like I said, an autism center. It's a medical necessary thing. We're in person working with the clients. So my life, it did change a little bit, obviously, but not too drastically. And I already forgot the question at this point. So I'm just trying to dig myself into or out of a hole.
It's all right. No, because I'm trying to like figure out exactly how to I can't figure out how to word it.
The world changed.
The world just, it's just crazy to think about because like we've never experienced like something to this extent in our lifetime. So it's very weird to navigate. I don't know.
Like I learned that like it was crazy how like you would go to these big gatherings with like a cold and that was like common, Yeah. But now it's like maybe even if it's just a common cold, like maybe you shouldn't bring a common cold to your Thanksgiving party with 30 family members, and that they would then bring it back to wherever they go. So maybe just more hyper aware about germs, which is even worse now because dude, like I said, I was buying like hand sanitizer all the time. Now I'm wiping down stuff I don't even know what I'm wiping. Yeah, dude, I wake up in the morning, jump in my little canteen of hand sanitizer and shower.
There you go.
So I shower off the sanitizer that was sanitizing myself before I sanitized myself in the shower.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And then you get that hand sanitizer that smells like tequila and you're like, oh,
dude,
all day.
High school memories.
All day.
We get that bad alcohol smell.
Alcohol smell. Oh God.
Working at the autism center, like we would be buying like the Nike hand sanitizer, like whatever, like the big company, and then you get like the company that came out of nowhere. That one was just so bad. It smelled horrible. Like we double masked. You could smell it through the double mask. No. was not pleasant.
Nope, not having that. That's not happening.
Aldi does have good 25-cent ones. They have a blue, a purple, and a red one. Here's the purple one, the lavender frost.
No, lavender frost. I like lavender.
Yeah, the red one was something, and blue one is something. They're over there somewhere.
Hand sanitizer on deck.
That's right. I'm acting as if people can see this.
Well, just you can just do a nice description. Yeah,
it's lavender frost hand sanitizer, 65% alcohol, 25 cents from Aldi. Go copy a couple.
Get you some. This podcast is not sponsored by Aldi, but hey, shout out.
Dude, Aldi's awesome.
Shout out Aldi.
You like Aldi?
Yeah, I mean, the one that we have isn't like in my town. It's like the next town over. So like I have to be in that area to go there. But they have this chocolate caramel salted thing that's really delicious. These little, I don't know.
So do you have a Trader Joe's by you?
Yep.
I've never been to one.
It's lovely.
But like
I don't go there enough.
Aldi owns Trader Joe's.
Oh, okay. Then that makes sense why.
Okay. It's very similar, legit. Product style and, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't get it. Like, never been. Although there is one right down the street, but 7-minute drive.
It's pretty good. It might be a little overrated on some stuff, but like I can get good ciders there. So I'm like,
oh, see, I just have a lot of anxiety to go because I've never been there. Like Aldi and my other store around here, Fresh Time, I know where to go. Like I'm in
see, that's the thing. Yeah. And then they take your shopping cart from you to bring it over to their side and you get all confused because you're like, wait, what?
Yep, but with Trader Joe's, it's a whole new stimulus, a new light auditory stimulus, visual stimulus. I don't know where things are. You know what I mean? I don't want to be lollygagging, getting in people's way. Is it good? What time am I going at? Is it there gonna be a lot of people there? Is it a busy time? There's a lot.
So are you one of those people that's like me that gets so frustrated when they change the entire store around? Like seriously?
I've noticed that with Aldi that they will, but that is a good thing. Like Costco, they do that weekly because it gets people walking around. Like if you know where you're going, the company's losing money because when you're walking up and down aisles, like, I need that. So when they move stuff around, you go to where you thought the chips were, but now it's coffee or whatever. Now it's a t-shirt.
I'm going to tell my wife that, and she's going to be like, well, yeah, that's a great idea, but
well, not for my convenience.
But not for my convenience. But you know what? Whatever. You know what? Whatever. But so are you a football fan? Do you have a team? Do you like watching football, or is fantasy football more of your style? Or just like talking football and talking stats and talking numbers and talking awesome stuff?
That's So I'm part of the group that does not watch football.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big group that people probably don't realize.
I'm in that group. I do have Red Zone on. I do a weekly YouTube series show with my buddy. Shout out Matt Dalton. We cover the Bears, so I might have the Bears on for a little bit just to get a little bit going. I am trying my best to watch football. That is something that I've also changed. I gave you my analogy at the Autism Center. 75% we're looking at data, how it's changing over time. 25% we're looking at the clients. What is the client doing right? What are they doing wrong? How do we teach them how to do something right? How do we remove any negative behaviors? So applying that to football, I do need to watch football and see if just the ins and outs. Like I said, I never played football. I don't know like the ins and outs. Like I played baseball. Like I said, I played college baseball. So I kind of know a little more than the average baseball person. So if I didn't have any experience playing it, I didn't learn anything like that. And when you just look at numbers, you're not getting the full scope. But also it's just like week 2, week 3. It's like, come on, like, why do I got to watch this, dude? Like, I think I just watched the Super Bowl for the first time last year. And I wouldn't say for the first time, obviously, in college you're hanging around, you got your party going on, but I wasn't like actively watching it. And I wasn't the one that would talk during the talk during the game and not talk during the commercials. I hate that people will talk during the game, but stay quiet during the commercials.
Yeah, I mean that does happen. That's do you I mean they are. I just rewatch them again when I can actually pay attention to them on YouTube. Do you play fantasy baseball, or have you ever played fantasy baseball?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never played fantasy baseball, like basketball either. Like I said, like I never really cared to play sports, but I wound up playing college baseball. It just was, I mean, it was cool to me. Like you're with your friends, you're having a good time.
Right.
You know, like the trips, you get to go to different states.
Yeah. It
was fun.
It was fun. Exactly. So I get that. Do you want to go ahead? So we wrap this up. Can you go ahead and let everyone know just where they can find you, what you got going on, and all of that jazz?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. First off, thank you, Casey. This was a great time. Thank you for having me on. Shout out to Get Real podcast on the DAP Network, DAP Network. Appreciate it. I'm Corey Spala, COREYSPALA. You know, I feel like we talked about me enough. If you care enough, come on over on Twitter. It's all good. Watch my shows. You don't. It's all good.
Definitely. Guys, go check him out. He's awesome. I know I've said that like 400 times on the show. So if you want to go ahead and count at the end and you guys want to, send me how many you counted, then I'll give you a prize. Anyway,
hey, get those stickers over there and t-shirts.
Dope stickers and I got So we got some stuff. We got some stuff going. Yep. Corey, thank you again for coming on. It's super rad to have you on. Great conversation. And everybody make sure that you tune in again next week and make sure you stay rad.